everyone to 8 powerful strategies to build your e-commerce business. As you have all been joining us, we've been going through our launches acronym. So this is how we've taken stores from nothing all the way up to even $100,000. Now there's many strategies that you guys can run. Of course, $100,000 a year store or month store is someone speaking on large stages with a huge audience, but I do love to let you know that that is highly possible through this e-commerce platform. So Courtney and I will be walking you through this, just a little bit of an introduction about ourselves. Let's go over to the next slide. I think if you guys have been joining us, you'll know who I am and who Courtney is, but just in case you haven't been here before, I myself am a practitioner. I've been in the industry for quite some time now, over 12 years. I've had a digital practice since 2014 myself, and built an e-commerce solution that wasn't much of a solution back in the day as well, working with a large technical team. So Get Healthy is definitely an answer for you guys to be able to scale and grow all of your online sales of digital goods. And it's a really turnkey solution for you. So I'll be giving my clinical background and my in-practice background and tips and tricks. And then Courtney, who is our director of marketing and has background in neuroscience, I'll let her introduce herself. We'll be introducing you to the way that this actually links.
Yeah, thanks for that, Chelsea. And if you haven't seen us before, I'm Courtney Bell and the marketing director at Get Healthy. I will be, like Chelsea said, kind of tying in some neuroscience links, which I think as practitioners who have more of a science mind maybe, or more analytical, might appreciate kind of why these different marketing tactics work. I always say we're trying to do marketing for good, and but it is sort of tactical in the way that we want to present these different, strategies for you so that they work in a way that really targets people, and we can get down to the nitty-gritty in terms of the science. So yeah, so we always say there are no dumb questions here. So this is a new industry, fairly new, and no one's really an expert. So feel free to hop in, to chat, have fun with it. It's a constantly changing industry, and we are always kind of catching up, but we try to stay as the experts for you guys, so you don't have to.
And I always love to say, think of our stores as a physical store. A lot of us can get really overwhelmed with the idea of selling online. But when you go ahead and think about it as a physical store, we've created the virtual shelves for you. We've staffed everything. Your job is to put on the shelves what you like, know, love, and trust, make the store look pretty, and talk about it. And this launches acronym is a great way for you to get out there and start talking about it. So launches is an acronym for 8 different strategies. They don't need to be used with just e-commerce or just physical goods. They can be used with digital goods as well, although we'll be focusing mostly with a physical goods sale here. So we've been through, and if you've missed it, the limited time offer, Ask the Audience, one of my favorite, unique product offering, niche bundle, and today we'll be going into a community and challenge. So this is a great way to launch your store. It's a great way to get people monetized on certain bundles. And let's go over to the next slide really quickly. So it's time to challenge your clients. I think many of us have a niche that is very specific, something like an autoimmune, where you're going to see some form of transformation. Some of us might just be seeing people who want to come in, start to understand functional medicine, want to look at their life a little bit more holistically. But when we look at habit change, we do see that people who participate in a challenge work a lot better. They have a goal to work towards. So giving your challenge to your clients where they can jump into a community type situation, something like a Facebook group, is a really beautiful way to get them goal motivated, get them engaged, and to give them a sense of community. We always see that when people announce what they're trying to change and they share this common goal with people, that it solidifies this change for them. It's very well known in the weight loss industry that if you don't tell your friends and you don't tell your family, you tend to fall off the wagon. It's a strategy that a lot of us will use to get people really dedicated to change. So it's a great tool for you to bring in, and it's a great way to launch your store.
And speaking of, getting people involved, we did end up creating a Facebook group for launches to kind of give you an idea of what this might look like in your community challenge, but also to engage and give you a chance to ask questions, to build community amongst yourselves when you are going through this Lunches series. So feel free to scan this code. It has our cute little dinosaur in the middle, and link if you need to. But so yeah, feel free to join that. I invited a few of you already, so that's really kind of an open forum. We'll kind of ask you questions and start to kind of give you a feel for that community online if you haven't done it already. Now, moving back into the neuroscience part of this, we've talked about, mirror neurons before, and a lot of you might be already familiar with mirror neurons just already. But, why this whole community challenge kind of works is because we're prone to reflect back through our mirror neurons, kind of reflect back and sympathize, if you will, on a neurological level and down to the neurons. So we are basically, we want a place where we can kind of express that, belonging, if you will. And so when you feel like you're in a place that's safe, and it's kind of a social situation and it's a group situation, then you can start to go through this stress cycle that you see on the right here. You see that it kind of goes, from the top down. You start in a safe and social environment. Then this is kind of where you're talking about your nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system that's very, safe. It's kind of calm. And then you kind of move into the fight or flight as you start to feel, less safe or you sense danger, right? And so if you keep going down the ladder, you'll just shut down or freeze. So when you're in this kind of community, you can kind of experience this whole stress cycle. So maybe there's something about this group for your clients that's really stressful. So maybe they've never tried to do this before. Maybe they aren't used to being healthy, or like even trying, maybe they're just getting on the bandwagon of being, somewhat healthy, or maybe they're, just taking it to the next level. But still, it's kind of a scary experience, and they want to do it with people, and that helps them manage this stress from a very basic level. And that kind of goes back to co-regulation. You're basically in a situation where you're able to regulate this system with other people. You're regulating your stress. You kind of maybe experience something a little stressful on your journey of getting healthy. You can go to this group and they can say, you know what, I've experienced that too, and I understand what you're going through. And here are some tips that I can help you with. And that can help you as a practitioner, so you don't have to kind of manage as much. It can kind of take the weight off you, or you can kind of get involved and start to, chat with your clients if you'd like. So that's the beautiful thing about communities, and that can be an online community or an in-person community, right? So, so yeah, that's kind of the science behind why this is such a wonderful, wonderful thing to try and put into your practice, whether it's virtually or in person. We hear about marketing tactics a lot like this, like, start a challenge, maybe get some collateral for your front office. But this is kind of the reason why. And I think when we know why, we're more inclined to actually do it and understand what you're getting from it. So I'm going to let Chelsea jump into kind of some ideas for the challenge.
Yeah, I love that. I've used community challenge in many different areas. I've done some really basic challenges, things like water challenges. So it's 21 days to drinking water, or a detox challenge is traditionally what I run. So it's 21 days. I jump in the Facebook group every day for 15 minutes. It's a great way to scale my income so that I'm not tying my time to money. But exactly what Courtney said, there's some really niche down people within our groups, and there's some really challenging things that people go through. And I think as a practitioner, you'll realize how much attention these people desire and deserve. And sometimes we don't, as a practitioner, have the time to do all of that. So creating a community that's a safe place for people to comment and say, hey, I just realized I'm so hungry and I'm out and about, and I really want to purchase something from fast food, and someone can jump in from the community and kind of do that heavy lifting for you and say, oh my gosh, I just went to Whole Foods and I got this, this, and this from the deli, and it fits within the detox challenge, can allow this sense of community to actually do some of the heavy lifting of this work for you. Same with people who are very judged in these areas. So a great example here is we have kids with ADHD and kids with learning disabilities. So we've got practitioners who niche down and work with that. And so for someone who hasn't experienced a child like that, or has a child like that and is surrounded by people who are not like-minded or not going through the same thing, it can be very stressful for them as a parent to feel judged and things along those lines. So to have a community group where people can jump in and share, hey, I totally understand your pain, just that empathy alone can get you out of that fight or flight response. And a lot of times, many of us will be dealing with people who do things like emotionally eating. And I always say, emotional eating is the cheapest therapist you'll ever gonna see. It tells you exactly what's going on in your body, and it also creates it. So if you have a way to have other people jump in and help soothe those people around you and create that sense of community, it can really amplify the results you've seen. It's science. We see it everywhere. It's not really arguable that having this sense of community, it doesn't help. It truly does help. Even I put down here a new mom challenge. So this is something where a lot of new moms go through a lot of things that people don't understand, incontinence. I have a client who has a store here. She's really niche down into Kegels. The other part of this is you can bring in other experts. So when I used to run my 21-day challenges, I would bring in a meditation expert. Although I teach it, it's not my expertise. So for every day for those 21 days, training for 15 minutes, it wouldn't always just be me. So you can start to share and collaborate within this community group, and it adds a lot of value that they get a lot of experts. It's essentially like having a little podcast, but a little bit more face to face. The hydration challenge, super easy to run, but 21 days of, hey, did you drink half your body weight in ounces? Having people check in and having a sense of reward can be really powerful as well too. People to cheer you on. I see this also a lot with, I work significantly with weight loss and couples. It's always going to be hard if one of the partners is not engaged in that journey with you. So if you have a sense of community outside of that relationship, then you have people to jump in and lean on. It's very hard to make transformations within a marriage or a relationship if your partner's going to come home and bring home McDonald's. So having that sense of community right there can be really powerful. And as I said, it allows you to scale your time. So it really allows you to give discounted coaching with the purchase of a bundle. A lot of these detox challenges or even testing, we've got a DNA test on the platform. The commission on it is quite high. You're looking at $100 to $150, depending on how you package this. So you might be able to say, hey, everyone who purchases this is going to have access to my free Facebook group for 21 days. Now you've made $100 to $150 off of this one product. And so for you to scale your time is very minimal. So thinking about that, look at the numbers, go, how much do I want to make, and work your way backwards. How much time am I willing to give for this? It also allows you, if you work in areas with people who are financially challenged, to really scale yourself and give a little bit more without them being not financially invested. A lot of people do need that financial investment to keep them motivated. I'm sure many of you have worked with people for free before and seen that they really just don't do a lot of things. But a lot of people don't have time or money to buy, say, a detox and work with you one-on-one. It can be very cost prohibitive. So this allows you to reach that lower tier audience as well.
Yeah. Wow. Great nuggets there. Lots of good advice. Yeah. And I think that, like you said, it's all about, if you do have a family, I love what you said about if you have a family member who is just, not kind of on the same track as you, you can go to your community. I think that's one of the wonderful things about this community.
I
Yeah,
always,
and
I was gonna say, I make people do their health vows, Courtney. So I always say with husbands and wives, you take a vow, you go in sickness and in health, but you know what sickness looks like, but you've never defined health. So part of my coaching is that every single husband and wife has to sit down and say, okay, this is to me what health looks like at 45, at 50, at 55, at 60. And they have to define it together. And then they understand as a couple if they're working towards it or if they're working against it.
oh, that's nice. That's really nice. I love that. Yeah, because we can get so easily off track or have some different ideas about what health means, how each person is raised is different. So that's amazing. Yeah. So going through kind of like the different levels, Chels, do you mind
Yeah.
going through those?
Not at all. I've been in all stages of my business. And so as a beginner, this might seem a little bit overwhelming. You're like, where is my community that I'm going to challenge? And so one of the best things I ever did, I have tons of girlfriends, I'm sure we all do, depending on who you are in the industry, or people who are just noticing your lifestyle. And they're going, I'd really love to hire them, but they might not think to hire you as a friend. So as you're beginning, create a beta test group and offer it out for free and ask for your feedback. Say, hey, these are the results we're going to get. Might just be a sleep challenge, might be a hydration challenge, might be very simple, but ask 10 or 15 of your family or friend members to jump in, write you a review on Yelp. So this is huge. Many people don't realize that one of the top ways I grew my business, I was the #1 rated nutritionist in the state of Hawaii because of Yelp. It's very overlooked. It's totally free. So creating this beta test group where you have 5, 10, 15 of your friends and family, even 2 people jump in and offer you feedback. You can say, I was going to offer this for X amount of dollars. Please jump in, do this for free with me, and I will just do it for a review. Don't do it entirely for free. Ask them to give you a review. It's a great way to start out as a beginner. So going into growing, this is when you've reached out, you've worked with a number of patients. So at this point, a community challenge, it's wonderful to reach out to existing and past customers. I like to run a quarterly detox with my clientele. And so I always say, as part of working with me, you get access to my quarterly detox. So they can always jump in that Facebook group. They have lifetime access to it. It's a selling point I use. And so then I can remonetize them in buying that detox, because it's just, they don't need to buy the detox to do it. They could go corn, soy, wheat, dairy, gluten-free without it. So they can 100% do it for free, but it keeps them engaged and it keeps them feeling like they have nuggets and they have access to me. And it's a great way to sell people into your higher coaching, to say, hey, you get lifetime access to something with me. And then lastly, as you're scaling, so scaling can be really interesting. Once you've scaled, you've become this expert and you do want to limit your time. It's part of a marketing strategy here, where you're on such a high pedestal that it really is not lifetime access. You've transitioned out of that. You are this expert, you're on this pedestal, your team will be working to do this for your marketing. They're all going to be smart. At scaling point, you usually do have a team. So this is a very limited time group. You only get access to it for X amount of days. You have other people talking about your group, so you can use other affiliates to help launch into this program. Some really great examples here. They're within our niche, but also not. B School. If any of you know Marie Forleo, she'll be speaking at Mindshare this year. She has a very limited time annual event, and she essentially monetizes her whole business off of B School. So she has tons of affiliates help her launch this. And it is not lifetime access. You can get the recording if you pay for that year, but you only have a certain amount of time to jump in and have all of that content given to you. So as you're scaling, doing this community challenge, you really do want to limit that time. And you probably want it much shorter than 21 days. Maybe it's 5 days, it's a mastermind or something along those lines. You'll know your audience a little bit better and you'll know your niche and what they need to do.
I got a little trigger happy there. Yeah, no, I think that's a really important thing to note too, just to kind of like wrap up that whole thing. Is you're starting out, you're kind of offering out free things and your time, but then as you move up and start to scale, you really need to whittle down, because all of those free offers are hopefully going to get you a lot of clients, right? So you can start to really target people instead of having to kind of give out free services and free time. Um, so sorry, did you want to go over this one?
Oh, these are great. Yeah. So beginner things like challenging your clients over a month to a pantry makeover. I have many stages of my program I run, but especially in with the detox or a rapid fat loss, I always say, fat is not your problem, it's your symptom. And a lot of it comes down to organization. So I start with really dialing it back. I say, hey, okay, if your kitchen is somewhere that you hate, if you can't stand making food and you don't have yourself set up for success, like how am I ever going to get you somewhere? I can't just give you this meal plan. It's not worked for you for years because you might not even have Tupperware. You might not even have the kitchen equipment that you need. So having a pantry makeover or a bathroom makeover or even a cleaning supplies makeover can be a really wonderful place to start people. It's very simple, and it also doesn't totally paint you as this very advanced medical expert if you're coming out of school and people are going, well, she just graduated, what does she really know? But you can really feel very comfortable, no imposter syndrome here. If you're just going ahead and talking about non-toxic cleaning supplies, there's tons of facts you can bring out there. I think the average American woman puts 163 toxic chemicals on her face or body before she leaves the house. Just insane things. So lots of things for you to talk about here as a beginner.
Yeah. And another thing too, I don't think we've mentioned this, but doing the challenge with them, I think that that's, as a beginner, if you're giving out your free offers or if you're kind of like going on your social media and you're building, try the challenge with them, do it with them every single day, or however often you're challenging them to do it. And then check in with them, give them kind of your feedback to kind of really engage people, maybe ask questions. And it can be a good way to kind of build your audience and your authority as well as you keep going along.
I did this in a very selfish way when I started. I used it to motivate myself. So I always cleanse from the day after Halloween to the day before Thanksgiving. It's perfect 21 days. But I remember going in and journaling was part of it, meditating was part of it. So I would sit in my Facebook group and I would just meditate. And so
Nice.
it kept
I
me
love it.
very compliant. I would really do it with people. And I was just inviting people to do something with me. So it was very organic when I started. I didn't do paid advertising or anything. I said, this is what I'm doing. You guys ask me about it, come join me. And it kept me motivated and it felt not salesy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love it. Well, let's see at the intermediate level, again, you're kind of moving into, starting to give less of your time, trying to be a little more strategic. But you are trying to plan ahead here. So advertising your challenge sort of ahead of time. So instead of kind of starting this with them and jumping on and jumping in, you're kind of planning ahead and setting times, setting check-in times, weekly emails, with valuable content. So recipes, motivational stories, your story, as we just discussed, testimonials, create that Facebook group and go live to answer questions for people as they go along. Set up one-on-one sessions with people and create an incentive if they finish. So maybe it's, more time with you, again, kind of limiting your time. Maybe it's a product, that would be a great, discount on a product or something like that. So this can be a really great way for you to kind of level up from just engaging your audience.
Yep, absolutely. Intermediate. You do want to feel a little bit more professional at that time. So I always suggest to, if you are doing community challenge, one thing we didn't talk about is having a consistent background, a consistent look. I remember when I started, mine was very casual, and I look back at it, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I did that. But now when I get into my more intermediate, I show up a little bit more professionally. I have the same background, the same opening, the same beginning, try and wear the same colors. Those are things that go a long way when you're trying to create a brand online. Same hairstyle even. So it can be, you just want to create this consistency for people that they feel like they know what they're getting. You're always going to see this in TV shows. You're never going to see Oprah coming and looking like Oprah looks completely different. There is a reason that they have the same colors, the same setting, all of that. So as you step into the intermediate, which will eventually take you into the scaling, that consistency is very important. There's a few different things you can use to go live in Facebook groups too, and they can even superimpose a background for you, or they can put a logo in the corner. So that never hurts as well. I mean, people really love the authentic, just jump in kind of a thing. But I will say that showing up professionally makes a big difference when you're starting to get into this intermediate step.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And then if you're going, even a step further, like maybe you're kind of doing all that and you're getting more professional, and now you can start to recycle your content. And so even less of your time is spent on this. You have even less, one-on-one sessions. Maybe, you're not giving as many freebies. You still can, of course, but it's just a way to kind of cut down on your time, kind of with all the setup, with all the scheduling, all of that. So really, I would take kind of that intermediate step and create a recyclable course around it. And so that your clients can have this challenge whenever they want. And they can go in that Facebook group and they can see the history of people who've done it before. They can start, discussing with people at whatever, stage of the challenge that they are. And it can be a great way for you to kind of use your time more wisely on something else. And then maybe you can choose to launch a course live whenever you want, and you don't have to be kind of dependent on launching at that point. You kind of recycle your materials. And we actually have a very exciting announcement about, we've kind of teased a little bit about our LMS, which is called Get Healthy EDU, and you'll be able to build courses and your content and do this and link it to your store so that you can also purchase products. So that's something super exciting down the pike. And
I was just going to say one more thing. Once you get into advanced, it helps to have a monitor. So you're going to be scaling, you're going to have a lot of people commenting. And so it does help to have people who maybe have taken your course. You'll have people who reach out and say, I just loved this. Like, can I work with you in some way? And so having someone who actually mediates that group can be very powerful at that time. You can't be all places at once. And Instagram, Facebook, these groups can become really taxing. It depends on what you like. But for me, I found that having someone jump in and comment back and forth and do all those things was really refreshing, because if you're constantly working with patients, it can feel overwhelming. And some people just love to do it. And some people you can hire and they can do like a one-stop shop, all your social media, posting every day. And that's a dream come true.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great tip. It's a great tip from someone who's done it before. Definitely hire, and you can hopefully be at that stage where you've kind of grown and tied in all of your products to each kind of component of the challenge where you see fit, and that'll help you with that extra income, and you can kind of build to the point where you can hire someone. So yeah, so I think that is the last one, and I don't see any questions today. But is there anything else you wanted to wrap up with, Chelsea?
No, we've just seen some people employ these tactics and love it. You could also do a community challenge that doesn't really talk about products to start with, but when you're in the group, you can start talking about products. So they're already there. It could even be a free challenge. And that's where you drop in things, especially if you're at beginner stage. It does work at all levels actually, because if you're in the point of scaling, you're going to have a huge audience. So you will get conversions. But that's an option for you as well too. You don't need to open the community challenge to only people who've purchased, but we are of course using this to launch your store. So when using this in the context of launching your store, saying, hey, I'm so excited. If you purchase this within the next couple of days, even limiting the offer, you get access to my group. It's a really wonderful way to push this store out to your audience or to your friends and family if you're just starting.
Yeah, we've seen that firsthand work, like Chelsea said, with like the detox challenges. There are many brands that have preset detox challenges for a preset amount of time. So, that's super easy for them to just purchase that one detox box or whatever it is. And then, we can actually trigger an email that goes, to a page or wherever you want it to go, so that they can access your content, or they can access an email, or, whatever it is you want to send to start that challenge. And that's been super, super successful for people, and they can kind of go on and monitor their challenge. So yeah, I think we're out of time here, but thank you so much, Chelsea, and thank you everyone for coming. And we hope to see you next week.
Thank you, everybody.